Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of One Man Stream. I'm really excited about today's episode. We actually started this little journey right here about 4 weeks ago, and it's taken me a while to get back to finishing this out. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to build a baseball scoreboard graphic, and this is absolutely my favorite time of year. And if you look over my shoulder here, you'll see why. This is Jim Patterson Stadium. It's the home of the University of Louisville Cardinals, who happen to be going back to Omaha for the College World Series. And it's especially important time for the state of Kentucky, which is where I'm from, because for the first time in program history, a school that's just about 3.5 hours away from Louisville, the Murray State Racers to be exact, they are also going to the College World Series. For them, the first time. For Louisville, I think this is the 6th or 7th time under head coach Dan McDonald. But to get back to what today's topic is about, we're going to build this baseball scoreboard graphic right here. I previewed this a few weeks ago, and I showed you how to build the vMix UTC controller to control this, but today we're actually going to put this graphic together, and I'm going to show you some really cool tricks, ways that you can fade the numbers in and out when you have a run score. And also, if you haven't watched that other tutorial, I suggest that you do, because it shows you how to set up some list widgets for things like these images here, also for the innings. So we're going to have that and so much more for you on today's episode of One Man Stream. However, before we get started, I would like to say that this episode is called Baseball Scoreboard Graphic Build 2025 because I intend to bring out new graphics for every sport for every season. And this is One Man Stream episode number 126. So I want to thank all of you who have supported the One Man Stream channel so far. And I hope you keep coming back again and again and watching these tutorials as I present them. I hope you enjoy them. I certainly do enjoy doing them. Okay, so the majority of today is going to be in GT Title Designer. What we're going to start off with first is we're just going to draw the background for the graphic. So to do that, we're going to go up to the top here under I'm sorry. We're going to go over to the left-hand side and we're going to click on rectangle, and then we'll draw us out a rectangle over here. And we're probably not going to be able to make it the same dimensions as this main rectangle, which I have no idea. There it is, the main rectangle. And let's see, in order to check the dimensions of something, you come over here under Format, and we can see that it's 705 by 316. So let's go ahead and just to make it exact, we'll go ahead and make it 705 by 316, and you can see all I'm doing is I'm clicking in that box, then I'm just dragging my mouse. Or you can double click in here, you highlight it in blue, and then we'll just make it 705 to make it exact. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. We're going to come up here under Home, and then under Fill Color, we're going to make that white. And now we have this entire graphic that is white. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to build the background that's going to show us, or it's going to host the base runners, it's going to host the outs, as well as the inning and the current count on the batter. So let's look and see what size that is. Let's go back under Format. This is 391 by 253. So we're going to come over here and click Rectangle, and it's 391 by 253. So we have the dimensions that we want. So now we're just going to drag it, and we're going to get it close. After we get it close, what we do is we click on the menu bar here, and then we use the arrows on our keyboard, and it's going to allow us to put it exactly where we want it. So that looks pretty good right there. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to build these two pieces right over here, these two elements right over here. And this one here is 171 by 124. So let's click rectangle again. 171 by 124. And then we're going to again highlight the menu bar. And again, we're going to use our arrow keys to get it where we want it. And to save us time, what we're going to do is we're going to right click and copy and right click and paste. So now that rectangle 3 turned to rectangle 4, and now again we'll click the menu bar and we'll bring our second rectangle down into place. Okay, so we need to do some naming, or we're really going to be confused here in a little bit. So as you've seen in other tutorials that I've done, I'm not able to use the same name. So for this rectangle right here, this one that says rectangle 2, I would type in something like base runner background, or base stat background, something like that. For this one right here, I would call this one visiting team background, and let's go ahead and change the color of it. So now that we have it highlighted, we're going to come over here under home. Let's go to fill color, and let's make it this blue right here. Let's make it a little more bluer than that. I don't like that blue. There we go. And then this one's going to remain red. And so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create where the score goes. So let's see what size that is. Again, this is named visiting score background, and that's what we would want to do when we name the new one that we're going to create. So let's go ahead and click rectangle, and we'll put it right there, and let's see what the dimensions are under form. Oops, that's the score. Let's see the dimensions of the square. There we go. Format 124 by 124. So we double click and highlight, make that 124, double click and highlight, make that 124. And then again, we're going to use our keys, arrow keys, to get it exactly where we want it. So that's rectangle 5. So we're going to right click and copy, and right click, try again. Right click and copy, and right click and paste. And then we're going to bring this one down. And then we're going to go back up to this first one that we made for the visiting score, and we're going to go back to home, and then we're going to change that background to the same blue color. So now you can see we have the blocks in here, and now what we're going to do is we're going to start putting information in the block. For this top part right here, the way that I did that is I just made a rectangle. So I'm just going to eyeball this one about right like this. We're going to go to fill color. We're going to make it black. We need to shorten it up just a little bit. To put the text in here, you want to go over here to where it says ABC. We'll click on that. We'll draw us out a large box like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this so it's going to be centered in the middle. The text will be centered in the middle of the box, and it's going to be centered in the box up and down. Now the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to this button here where it says configure automatic text box resizing, and I'm going to click on shrink. The reason I do that is when I have text in here that is very long or that could possibly exceed the area that we've made for it, it's going to shrink that text down and keep it confined inside this box. So I'm going to double click in here. I'm going to highlight text, then I'm going to make it white. And now I'm going to type in Jim Patterson Field. Well, if I learned how to spell, Jim Patterson Field. Let's highlight the text because I do not like the font there. I'm going to scroll down to a font that I really like. There it is. And we're going to leave that font in right there. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in the logos. The way that you do that is you click on this right here where it says image. I'll click on that. And then I'm going to go to this cardinal, and I'm going to shrink it down to a size that we can use. And I'm going to try to make it a square. And the reason I'm going to do that is when I make this into a list widget, I want to be able to have something that's going to look really nice with just about any logo that we put in here. So we're going to make it a little bit bigger. It's fighting me. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to go to format. Right now it's 91 by 82. So let's go ahead and make this 95 by 95 and see what that does for us. Okay, that's a little bit bigger, but let's make it even bigger than that. A lot of this is just trial and error. So let's make it 100. Let's see what 110 looks like. And this width here is actually, the width and height is actually in pixels. So let's do that. And I think that's going to work for us just for the purpose of this demonstration. Now I click on the menu bar, and now I'm using my arrow keys to position it. And I've got Louis about right in the middle. we're going to do the exact same thing with Murray State, but since I've already gone through the pains of creating this box the size that I want it, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to right click and copy, and right click and paste. And then that image 1 changes to image 2, and we're going to just use our arrow keys and bring it up. And then I'll show you this neat little trick. Let's just right click right here. It brings up browse. And then we're going to browse to the Murray State logo. And we're going to bring that right in just like that. What we're going to do is we're going to bring in the scores now. So I'm going to click on the ABC once more. And I'm going to go back to home. I'm going to make sure this is going to be in the middle, left to right, in the middle, up and down. And then I'm going to double click on it to highlight the text, and I'm just going to put in a 0 for a placeholder. And I'm going to go back to that same font that we just used and change the fill color to white. And we're going to make it considerably larger. Right now it's at 36. Let's click on 96 and see what that does for us. That might be a little bit too big. I don't want it the same size as the mascot. Okay, we'll bring it down to 72. I don't think that's quite centered, so I'm going to highlight it and use my arrow key and bring it down a smidge, and that's pretty good. So what I would do is I would title this Visitor Score. I think that's what we have it named over here. Yes, Visitor Score. So I would title this Visitor Score. This would be Visitor Logo, Home Logo, and I'm going to right click and copy and right click and paste. And I'm going to bring that down, bring it up just a little bit, and then we would call this Home Score. So we would entitle this Home Score right here. For these bases, it's a little tricky. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the internet, and what I'm going to look for is a white square. That's what my search term is going to be. So I'm going to come to Google and I'm going to type in white square PNG, and I'd like for it to be transparent as well. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to click on images. So I would just right click and save image, and you can see that I've already done that before. I downloaded the white square, and then I take it to my program that I use called Clipping Magic to take the background out. So all it does is leave the square. So I'm sure that you know how to do that. I'm not going to go ahead and demonstrate that on this tutorial, but whatever program you use in order to take out background noise so that you can concentrate on your image, that's what you need to do, and you need to end up with a white square. We went ahead and did that, and now what we're going to do is we're going to click on Image, and we're going to go to our white square we have and click Open, and it's up here, and it's very small, and I know that the size is 90 by 90, so let's go ahead and make this 90 by 90. I'm going to show you something right here, and this is going to be important when we start showing men on base. So what we're going to do right here is I'm going to go up here under Data, and I'm going to click on Show Visible Toggle. And that clicking on this Show Visible Toggle is what allows you to turn these different base image colors off and on in vMix UTC to show that you have runners on base. So that's how you would do that. Make sure this says Show Visible Toggle. So let's click on this. Let's go back to Home and Format. And let's go ahead and rotate this thing on its edge. So let's get it to 45. And then we're going to drag it over here. And I'm going to get it roughly where I want it. Click on the menu bar. And then this where it says image 3, we would title this second base. So I'm going to right click and copy and right click and paste. And then this guy right here is going to be third base. So let's come down to where the edges almost touch. Then I'm going to slide it over. And this just takes some little finagling around to get it where you want it. And that looks pretty good right there. So that's going to be, we would entitle this image for third base. So we're going to right click and copy and right click and paste. And then again, use our arrow keys. We would highlight on this image, and then we would go over here where we find it in the layer where it says image 5, and we would title this one first base. So now we have first base, second base, and third base. Now, let's just go back and double check and make sure that all of these are on here with show visible toggle. This one, show visible toggle. Second, show visible toggle. Third, show visible toggle. Awesome. So we have that all correct. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the outs. Sometimes you see it represented as 2 circles. Sometimes you see it represented as 3 circles. I like to do it as 2 circles. We did the same thing. So we'll click on this and we click open. It brings it in. And let's go ahead and just slide it over here, and you can see it's way too big. So let's click on this one and see what size we chose for that. So let's just try 80 by 80. Or 50 by 50 and see what that does for us. So let's go 50. Well, 50 by 80. We'll just leave it as that. So we have out number 1, and we would entitle this out number 1. Make sure you go up here under data. Make sure that you click on show visible toggle. And then we're going to right click and copy and right click and paste. That image 6 goes to image 7. We're going to bring that over. And then we would name this one out 2. So now we have our base runners, we have our outs. So the next thing we have to do is the inning indicator. And we go to Google, we type in white rectangle PNG, and it brought us back this. So we're going to bring this over for inning indicator. Let's see what size it is. And I named it top inning image. And the size is 42 by 42. So we'll do the same thing for this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and copy and right click and paste, because this is the top of the inning indicator, but we also need a bottom of the inning indicator. So we're going to come over here under this, under Z, and we're going to give it a 180. So now we have 1 up and 1 down, and I'm going to bring it to right like that, where you can't see the tips of either one of the indicators. So the way this will work is if we have top of the inning, it's going to be this. If we have the bottom of the inning, it's going to be this. And with vMix UTC, all we're going to be doing is using the set visible on and off for these 2 different images. And that's how we toggle the inning. So top of the inning, bottom of the inning. We do have to make sure that both of these, we have the show visible toggle checked. And now we do. So now when we save this graphic, we'll be able to turn these particular assets off and on using vMix UTC. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create this right here. And this is actually very straightforward. We're just going to use the ABC, and we got a little bit extra room, so I'm going to use it. So we're going to click in it. We're going to give it the numeral 0. Then we're going to highlight it and go back to home. In the center, left to right, in the center, up and down, we're going to use that same font that we've been using throughout. And we're going to change that font to white. And we would call this balls indicator. So this one would be balls. And then we're going to right click and copy and right click and paste. Then we're going to click on it, move it over. And this one is going to be strikes. So we would name this strikes. Now we're going to do this one more time. Right click, copy, right click, paste. And now we're going to bring this over and center this in between our balls and strikes. We're going to change this to our dash. So now we have the count. Now, one thing that I didn't show you a minute ago that I did want to tell you about is how to make these numbers fade in and out. And the way that you do that is you go to data, you go to animations, and what you're looking for is data change in and data change out for this specific element. So this specific element is going to be text block 4, but as we would be naming these as we went along, this one would actually be balls. So let's look for text block 4, which is right here. So data change in for text block 4, we're going to make it a zoom fade, and then for data change out for text block 4, we're going to make it a zoom fade. Let's take a look and see what that's going to look like. That's all you have to do, is you have to make them both say zoom fade. So, and we would do the same thing for our score, have that little fade, which is kind of cool. And then we would do the same thing over here for the strike. So the only things that we have left to do now is this right here is the pitcher's name. So we're going to click on text block. We're going to draw it out and make it kind of big. And then we're going to do that same thing we did earlier under home. We're going to come here, we're going to click shrink because we want to make it stay inside that box. And what we're going to do now is we're going to have it over to the left, but we're still going to have it in the middle of our text block. We're going to have it start from the left side, and we're going to use the same font that we've been using. So this is going to be the pitcher's name, so we're just going to call him Smith. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to make another block here for the batter. So I'll click on the rectangle, bring this over, and I'm not going to be real picky about the size of this. And we're going to go back to the fill color. We're going to make it white. And then we would call this pitcher's name when we go and name it. I'm going to right click and copy, right click and paste. You can see where it turns to text block 8. Use my keys and bring it down. We would change this to batter name, but we're going to go ahead and type in here Jones. And once again, I just want to mention that this will be so easy for you to do if you watch the previous tutorial we did, and I believe it was episode 125 where we showed how to build a vMix UTC controller for this specific graphic. And if you watch that tutorial, it'll answer a lot of these questions for you and show you exactly how to control this graphic. This right here is the what the batter has done so far in this game. So we're only going to have to make one box here because we're going to have a text block widget that we're going to create in vMix UTC that we're going to be able to enter that information in real time. So let's go ahead and we're going to double click on this. We're going to center it in the middle left to right, in the middle up and down. And then we are just going to put in 0 for 3. We're going to double click on this and select that font that we've been using throughout today's tutorial. Okay, so now we have the pitcher's name, we have the batter's name, and we have the what the batter's done in today's game. The only thing we have to do now is the pitch count. So what we'll do is we'll make a small block here, and we're just going to make this the P semicolon. Use our Nighthawk fill font. I would just call this P semicolon text. So let's center that a little bit. And then the last thing we're going to do is pitch count. So we're going to come over here to the ABCs again. There's a lot of different ways you can control the pitch count, but the easiest way for someone that is new to doing these types of productions would be just to do it manually. So just each time make you a score widget, and each time the pitcher throws a pitch, just click the score widget and it'll go up by a digit. You can set it up to go up by a digit of 1. You could also have this connected to balls and strikes. So anytime a ball or a strike is thrown, it'll also increase this by a numeral of 1. A lot of different ways you can do it. So let's go ahead and highlight it like we have it. Go back to our font. And just to make it look the same, we'll go ahead and make this say 119. Click out of it and then highlight it. And let's go ahead and center it because we have it left justified right now. So we'll center it. I just noticed there's one more thing that we need to do, and that is the inning number. So let's go ahead and click on the ABC and make us a little box. Click in here, put in the number 9. Center it in the middle, left to right, in the middle up and down. Change our fill color to white, highlight it, and change our font. And let's go ahead and make that a little bit larger. So I hope you found this tutorial informative and fun. Object of One Man Stream is to actually give you guys the tools so that you can build these yourself. If for some reason you don't want to build it yourself, if you want one of these that's pre-made, you can always go to our online store, which is right here in front of us at www.onemanstream.com. That is where we have our graphics store and more. We have Most all the graphics we built throughout this tutorial series, along with many of the vMix UTC controllers, they're just a few dollars a piece, but it is a way that you can help support One Man Stream. If you're just getting into this and you want one-on-one help, I can do that as well. I've had a lot of folks that have taken advantage of this, and it's an easy way to get you off and running with vMix and vMix UTC. At the end of this tutorial, you'll see information about that. I do want to thank everyone that has followed along, for everyone that has subscribed, and for everyone that keeps coming back and watching my tutorials. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. And as always, I do want to thank you so much.